Yes, guys, and welcome back to the Up the Guts podcast. If you're listening to this on Spotify and Apple, you would have heard in the intro, but if you listen to this or watching this, on YouTube, you could probably tell by the title, we are joined by a returning guest who was on earlier in the series when we started the podcast. We are joined by the one and only Will Taylor. How are we, mate?
Doing well. Currently sitting under the aircon because it's bloody 35 degrees outside at the moment, but I'm keeping on.
Okay, yeah, now, obviously, as I mentioned, I've got the date down here. So we are now in episode 110. You were on episode 18. It was 17th of February 2022. So a lot has happened since then, obviously, teaming up with the Marmalade boys, doing some producer work. What's a day in the life look like for you nowadays?
Day in the life. Well, at the moment, I'm currently sleeping on the couch at the Marmalade boys' house. So Shrey's not too happy with me sleeping on the couch, but I try to do my best to be active and not cause too much of a fuss for them. Chatting with Checkers and Shrey about what we could take out of the potty and what's something we could clip up with the guests that we bring on, record the podcast, and then go home and smash out most of the edits.
Yep. Yeah, and obviously with Producy, I've just lost you a bit there, so I don't know if you're talking. You got me there? Yep. So obviously with Producy, what type of work are you doing there with clubby sports and that?
Just a producer role pretty much. Currently got the position as a junior producer. But yeah, definitely looking to sort of take that next step to become a bit more of a senior producer amongst it. It's a really good working environment, I reckon. Everyone in there is awesome. There's a ping pong table in there that gets frequently used. I'm shit house at ping pong, but yeah, I get served quite often. But no, it's good fun. Dill's really awesome to work with, and yeah, I'm really grateful for the opportunity that he gave me.
Yeah, and how did you get in contact with Dill, or how did he get in contact with you? Did he just find you through obviously your TikTok and Insta stuff, or how'd that come about?
Early days, he was probably one of the first people that sort of big note that got onto my TikToks, because I was making very like list clogger type content, sort of directed at like people that won the benches and everything like that. And he found my content really early on. And during uni last year, I was looking for a what's it called? Placement. I was looking for placement work, and I sent out an email just as sort of like a Hail Mary, and I said, "Look, Dill, wanting to do some work in the podcast industry. But this is the course I'm doing. Would you be okay with me coming in and doing an internship?" And thankfully he said yes, which I was stoked about. And yeah, those 2 months were so much fun. I got to do some work with 200 plus, a little bit with Dylan Friends, and helped with some of the like social media content as well for some of the branding things, which was, it was an awesome experience.
Yeah, and obviously you said you were looking to start in the podcast. You do now are a part of a podcast. When obviously you did the placement at Producy, was always in the mind you were wanting to have your own podcast around that type of category, like the Resi's category?
Oh, most definitely. I knew that the Marmalade boys would eventually want to come down to Melbourne. I just wasn't 100% sure on their time frames or what worked best with them. And it just sort of fell into place that at the back end of my internship, like I started to finish up. The boys were had moved down to Melbourne, and they were keen to sort of get stuck into a bit more content and take that next step. And that's when Dill sort of tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Look, we want you to have your own podcast with these boys. Like, we think it will go great." And then it just sort of clicked into gear then, and we've never really looked back.
Yeah, and obviously I had Checkers on a couple of months ago, and I heard from his side. But what's your first memory of meeting those boys?
I was doing some work with a friend of mine who I was doing some like content for his clothing company, and then as a side hustle, we'd go and film stuff for like fan TV after the game. So we'd sit out the front of the G, a little bit further down towards the train station. We'd just get pissed idiots and say, "Oh, what do you think of the game tonight?" And like just get them to say stuff into the mic. And one night, Joel and the guy who used to be in Marmalade came down, and that's when I first met Joel. We got on like House on Fire, and then Gather Round came around, and we really got her, kept going, and that's where I met Shrey, and our little friendship, our little bromance has just gone from there, just flourished.
Yeah. And obviously, you mentioned that going over and doing Gather Round. How much time would you say you sacrificed to even be in this sort of position? And was there like even other jobs that you had to knock back that might have paid a bit better in the short term just to pursue this?
I sacrificed quite a bit in the grand scheme of things. I've sort of, I haven't ditched my mates from Geelong, but I don't go back to Geelong as often. Last time I was chatting to you, I was still living at home, living in Geelong, and it would be around about like an hour and a half train ride to get to where I am now. Mm-hmm. Obviously, very lucky to be crashing on Checkman's couch, but it's a decision that I sort of knew I had to take. It was probably, this has been the biggest part to pursuing my career that I want to get into. So I had to leave a few people behind in Geelong, which was upsetting, but in the long term, it'll be most definitely beneficial for me, I believe. And then hopefully I can rekindle those friendships and relationships I had back in Geelong with those mates. But yeah, I still try and get back as much as possible.
And obviously being from Geelong, what are the main differences you find from living in Geelong and to living now in Melbourne?
In Geelong, you drive 20 kilometres and you're in probably like a different suburb that's like probably 10, 15 minutes away. Whereas you drive 20 kilometres in Melbourne and you're completely out of the city, it takes you 45 minutes to an hour to drive 20 kilometres. It took me 10 minutes to drive to the next suburb yesterday. It was crazy. And it's just so much busier. But at the same time, everything that we sort of need is just here in Melbourne.
Yep.
And we don't really have to go searching for too much. And it's nice and nearby.
Yeah. And obviously some of the videos you have done too have been, say, unique, some of them. One I wanted to touch on was the airport one that blew up. Where did that concept come about?
Funny little story, that one. I saw the Inspired Unemployed do it for an Instagram story, and I thought this is pretty funny. Like, it's quite funny that they've like exaggerated that. And I was on a mid-year trip to New Zealand with a few mates that I used to work with, and said to one of them, like, "Oh, can you just film this? Like, this I think would be funny." Filmed it, and it went. The video did well, so I thought, stuff it, I'll keep doing it. Like, I'll do it again.
Was this the one? Was this the one that you got tagged the wrong account in, or was that a different? Or was that the cricket one?
No, that was the one I got tagged.
That was so funny.
I think it was the second or the third one that I filmed. I think it was the second one that really took off. ESPN or Sports Centre hit me up and they said, "Hey mate, like, we love your video. Can we put it on our account?" I said, "Yeah, like, as long as you tag me and all that, like, we're sweet." And then I was looking through my phone, I'm like, "Fuck, they haven't uploaded it," and it's been like a week. And then I'm going back through like some of my Instagram DMs, and I'm like, "Oh shit, they've just like tagged the wrong bloke," and then they've tagged some random schmuck from America. and now he's getting all the credit.
But I couldn't believe it when I saw it because I know I messaged you straight away when I saw it. Because I clicked the tag, I was like, "It's Will Taylor," but I'm like, "No, it's not. It's not that Will."
Yeah, I was sort of stumped a bit. I'm like, well, it's not that hard to just like copy and paste, or you can match up the profile pictures for the tag, but I don't know what they've done, and yeah, I was a little bit shocked, and I think the other Will Taylor played it very well. And in one of the comments, he was saying he didn't need all the credit, like it's not his video or anything. But yeah, it was fair play to him.
And there's another one that went pretty well too, and I can relate to it. I know I commented on it. I can relate to it. It's the one where you're walking in the sports shop and you're going past the cricket bats and you're like, don't do it, don't do it. Was that just, did you think of that as content at the moment, or was that just a funny thing because that's literally what you do every time? Because I know when I was younger, or I still do, I know if I walk past the bat, I've got to go along, okay, all of them go, oh, that one looks good, pick it up and have a feel. But in the new bats, I'll have a feel. But was that just something you planned to record, or was it just in the spur of the moment?
A little bit in the spur of the moment, and some of those videos tend to do all right. If you go back to my footy boot video where I purchased, I just vlogged me purchasing footy boots from Rebel, but there's a clip of me in there where I walk past the cricket bats. I'm like, I need to do one thing quickly, and I'm just like shadow batting there. We were going to Rebel one day, and I just said to Checkers, I'm like, oh, just film me and Trey doing this. I think this will be funny. And like, filmed it, posted it, put it, next day, like, my phone was nearly like just mush. Like, I couldn't, it just had so many notifications going off. And I think it's on about like 16 million views at the moment. So it's pretty, I think it's fair to say that that's like the most like big any of my videos have gone.
Did you have a favourite cricket bat, especially growing up or now, or what? When you were younger, was there a certain brand that you were going straight to?
Kookaburra Kahunas have always been like iconic, especially like the black backed kookaburras. They've always been. Sorry, I've got these two absolute fucking idiots behind me doing stupid shit. And they've just shown me both their arseholes. Sorry, so back to it. We've got the Kookaburra Kahuna, iconic. I feel like if you didn't have one as a kid, like you were wanting one and you wanted it under the Christmas tree. But I feel like growing up, the Kookaburra Ghost, I've always liked my cricket kit being completely white or completely just clear. So yeah, I feel like definitely the Ghost looks good when you're shadow batting with that.
Yeah, I know one of my first bats when I picked him was so happy was actually the Grey Nichols Omega. If you remember that one, the blue and yellow one.
Are you fucking kidding me, man? He's better start vacuuming in the fucking. Sorry, man. Yeah, the Grey Nichols Omega, that was the old blast from the past, and like I remember the old power bows.
Will makes so much mess. That was somebody's shirt.
You're a dickhead.
Somebody's shirt.
Fucking hell. I'm gonna have to do it in the hay. I'll finish the rest of it out here. You what? Oh, is it? Yeah. No.
Just a short. Right, gotcha.
Where were we?
Blast from the past. You were talking about the power bow.
Yeah, the power bows. The power bow's been iconic, like Grey Nichols cricket bat, like probably amongst the conversation of a Kookaburra Kahuna, for sure. And then I feel like those bats, if you didn't have them, as a youngster, you were wanting them under your Christmas tree for summertime.
Yep. And obviously seeing those boys in the background there, what I wanted to move on to was the biggest Resi's game. What was the atmosphere like for you, and how was it to be there?
It was probably the best experience I've had doing the content stuff, for sure. It's when Checkers sort of put the idea to us boys, I thought, geez, like it'd be good to get 100 people there, even 50 people there. Like I thought we could put that up and like people can clip up whatever they want. And then like we're running out for the warm up, and I still remember like going back and watching the footage and seeing like they made a massive guard of honour, and it was out to like the centre circle, and we were just doing a warm up, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Like everyone was stoked about it, and yeah, that whole like trip leading up to that was awesome. I won't ever forget it.
Yeah, and you had a shot on goal, if I believe or not. What happened there?
I knew this would get brought up. I got hit on the tit by one of the old boys who just swung onto his left and laced me out, bleeding from about 35 out. And as soon as I marked, I thought, fuck it, like I want to have a moment here. I want to make sure this is my turn to kick a snag. And like we'd been filming videos of like goal kicking contests, or like the lead up promo videos, and I was slotting most of them, and I backed myself in, and it just got into the moment, and I shut the bed so hard. Like I stuffed up the run up. It was like I just didn't hit the ball correctly at all. I just packed my dacks in the moment.
Did you think at all coming later into the game that Stray was going to kick a goal, and even when he had it, did you think there's a possibility he could still miss?
Always that sort of aura and feeling around it that like the big moment's going to happen. And the more and more like the game sort of dragged out, I thought, fuck, like we could be waiting forever. This is just not going to happen, and we might have to do it next year or something. But like the feeling we had in the huddle at 3/4 time, I thought, no, we're really on today. I feel like it's either going to happen straight away or like right at the end, or it's not going to happen at all. And thankfully the ball bounced so beautifully for him. Like I don't think you can script a better ball that bounced over the defenders. He's out the back because he hasn't done the hard running to start off with, and it's gone through. And he's like, that was one of the best moments ever. Won't ever forget it.
And obviously, you also, I'd like to say, you're probably a bit more of a cricket fan than a footy fan. Before we get onto the other one, but you're playing a bit for Richmond City now. How have you found it down there, and playing while doing some content around it as well? Being able to play the game you love and make content on it while playing.
All the boys and the girls at Richmond City have been awesome. We started doing our content in like the second game, and everyone was like a little bit new to it because we had 3 different cameras at the games, and it was a little bit like new, especially for some of the older boys, because in the team that we play, we've got a lot of like blokes who are in their 40s, even older. And then there's us 4, and we're just like pulling our pants down, like being idiots. Like Jarrah 2 weeks ago was asleep at fine leg. And yeah, we're having a good time with it, and hopefully we can go into the finals with the boys.
Yeah, and you also done some stuff for Melbourne Renegades this season in the Big Bash, and we'll get onto something with the Big Bash soon. But how did you boys individually get contacted, as a group get contacted to do that? And how was that experience, and meeting some of the Renegades players?
It was such an awesome experience. One of my all-time favourite cricketers is Adam Zampa, just because the way he goes about his cricket and how weird he is, and just the way he spins the ball, and he's one of the best leg spinners in the world. It was awesome, and we snapped up that opportunity pretty quick. we had a guy who had done stuff with us in the past, and he just got a job at the Renegades, and he's like, boys, I want to get you in, do some media. We had like this massive media slot on media day, and it was pretty like, it was a massive pinch me moment because we had Fergus O'Neill, we had Aaron Finch, we had Nathan Lyon, and I'm like, fuck me, like this is such a star-studded. They're more than happy to have like a 5-10 minute chat with us, film the content, and just like take the foot off the gas and just have a bit of a laugh.
Yep. Now, 2 parts to this one. Who was your favourite to do the content in the interviews with? That's the first part. And second part, who maybe surprised you with how energetic they were?
The biggest surprise was Tom Rogers, the opening bowler for the Renegades. When he came in, because he seems really reserved, really quiet out on the field, but when we started like coming to games quite often and bringing the cameras, he was giving us a fair bit, which really helped with the content, helped us build that relationship with the players. I think the best is probably Finchy. For him to, in the last week of him playing domestic cricket or professional cricket, for him to come and smash an oven with us was by far some of the funniest stuff.
That was unreal.
Probably some of the funniest stuff I'll ever do ever. And he was all for it. Unreal bloke.
Yep. And obviously, how'd you find the Big Bash season as a whole, and where do you see the progress for Big Bash? Obviously, looking forward, we don't want to say we'll get to IPL heights because that's huge, but like, how do you see it progress in the next, say, 5 years?
I was really happy to see the Big Bash draw a bit more attention this year to a bit of an older crowd. Like, I understand the Big Bash is very much trying to draw in new cricket fans and like kids, and like teaching people the rules of cricket, and it being such a fast formatted game. But I really enjoyed some of the games, and watching Jake Fraser McGurk bat at the G, like that was awesome. If it's going to expand in 5 years, Aaron Finch in an article, I don't know if he said it today or yesterday, but he was saying that Sydney Thunder should move to Canberra and the Melbourne Renegades should move to Geelong for their fan bases. And I'm not opposed to that.
Okay, yep.
But like at the same time, I enjoy having like the Melbourne derbies and the Sydney derbies. So you'd hate to take it away from those cities as well.
And also with your big love for cricket, I have set you a task, and I think it's time to set it now. So what we're going to do here, if the internet holds up, I hope it's going all right, but Will's put together his BBL 23-24 Team of the Year. So whenever you want to get that, go with that, go for it, mate.
And I put in the Team of the Year that surprised me the most. So it's either they've gone and underperformed a little bit from what they used to be like, or they've gone and exceeded expectations. Top 2 I've got is Sean Marsh and Nick Maddinson. Now, they're probably on 2 different ends of the scale here. Sean Marsh exceeded expectations. I thought, geez, he's getting old, like, could be his last season, which it was, but, like, he took the game by the horns and just smashed it. He was making runs for fun. He was just team bowlers back over their heads. Nick Maddinson, on the other hand, like, I would have enjoyed to see more of him. Like, I know he's probably not a mainstay in the Victorian side. He was given the captaincy. In my opinion, I thought Will Sutherland was going to get the captaincy just because he was captaining the Sheffield Shield. But Nick Maddinson, I thought, led the boys well. I was just a little bit upset that he couldn't get himself a few runs here and there. The next 2, so batter 3 and batter 4, 2 strikers players. I got Jake Weatherald and Thomas Kelly, both players who I thought exceeded expectations. Tom Kelly would come in, even though he's a bit of a slow batter, came in and teed off and made some pretty tidy scores, batting a little bit further down the order. Jake Weatherall's the same. He had a rough start to the BBL, which he got dropped from. But towards the back end of the season, he sort of started to find his groove a bit and really get into some attacks. I think the Hobart Hurricanes game they played, the one down in Hobart, he really took it to the bowlers and showed us why he still probably deserves a contract at BBL level. I've got next my 5 and 6, Paul Walter and Jordan Silk. Now, when Paul Walter was announced as a signing at the Brisbane Heat, I thought, gee whiz, there's not much international talent left on the cards here, but Paul Walter definitely exceeded expectations. He had all the variations with the ball. He could hit a mean 6. He could hit him all over the park, and he was good in the death as well. Jordan Silk, I thought the Sixers weren't going to be able to bat deep enough. I thought most games they'd go in without enough batters. Sorry, but Jordan Silk definitely held up his own end of the batting lineup and really steered it home a few times for the Sixers. And even though he's aging, he's still the best fielder in the comp. Like, he's saved games single-handedly, not only with the bat but with the ball as well, in the field as well. And my next two are two sort of people that I thought didn't really live up to their old hype, and it was Sam Billings and Nathan McAndrew. Sam Billings, I think because he was batting so low in the order for the Heat, he just never got the opportunity, which I feel like you'd be pretty flat for him, and he just sort of never got ticking. Runs really didn't come for him. And then Nathan McAndrew it was hard for him with Zaman Khan and Daniel Sams taking most of the wickets. It was hard for him to sort of find a scalp or two most weeks, which was a bit of a letdown for him, but hopefully he bounces back. And the last three I've got is two people who exceeded expectations, and Jason Behrendorff. So it's Jason Behrendorff, Lloyd Pope, and Cameron Boyce are my last three. And Jason Behrendorff being the left-arm innie, you probably think, like, with the Perth Scorchers and how good their bowling attack can be, I think they just didn't turn to him as much as they could have. He might have lost his swing that he showed in that World Cup over in England, but he was swinging the ball around corners throughout that series. Lloyd Pope, fun fact, actually, I was moving a side screen with him the day before he played his first BBL game this season. I was 12th man for the Barossa Crushers, and our team was batting. Lloyd Pope in the outfield was moving the side screen with me, playing against Premier cricketers. The next day he got called up to play Big Bash and took 4 for. And he just took wickets for fun in those last few games, and he's absolutely smashed it. And then Cam Boyce as well. It just proves that slow bowling can still take wickets. He's bowling a few 75, 76-kilometre balls. He's got the quicker one that he can send through, but, yeah, the big loopy spinners, and, yeah, he was taking plenty of poles as well. So that is my surprising BBL team of the year.
Love it. I love it. Now, on the cricket talk as well, I was doing a bit of work for Casey South Melbourne. When you were last on, I don't know if you recall, but I asked you, was there any players from the Geelong area to look out for? Now, one of them you mentioned was Oliver Peake. Now, he's had an exceptional start this year, obviously making over 1,000 runs already. And I had the privilege of watching him bat on the weekend. Yeah, on the weekend, sorry. He only made about 40-odd, but my God, with that 40, you can just see how classy he is. So great call from you, and he's one for the future for sure for Victoria and higher honours.
His old man being Clinton Peake, former Victorian state cricketer, has taught him well. He's gone through the systems beautifully. Played at a pretty good club of South Barwon. I think I mentioned in the first episode I was on, he played against me when he was like a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old kid, and was still like pumping out bowlers everywhere to all parts. And now he's earned himself a reserve spot at the Under-19s World Cup that's currently on. And that's only because he's 17 at the moment. Like, he's still got a few years until he's at the peak of his powers. And yeah, he's smashed runs this year. I think he's hit 1,100 runs so far this season. So he's just smashing it in all formats that he's playing.
Yeah, because he's making hundreds for he's made 100, I believe, for the first for Geelong, and then he's made hundreds for the 17s, and I believe the 19s, or maybe 2 for the 17s. But he's definitely made one in Premier cricket as well, which is a huge honour.
Smashing it, and full credit to him. Love Peaky. He's a great kid on and off the field. Great competitor, and yeah, I'm looking forward to what he can produce in the future.
Let's move on to some AFL stuff. Obviously, we just did the BBL Team of the Year there, and I normally do it with my other co-host, Will. He's currently away camping, but I thought I'll continue the season previews, and you can jump in and add your input if you like on stuff that I say as well.
I'd love to.
So here we go. First one. So we're doing an alphabetical order, and we are up to Essendon. So 2023, they finished 11th, and their best and fairest was Zach Merritt. A couple of the ins they brought in, so they've filled that key defensive spot that they really needed to fill with Ben Mackay, and they brought also in Xavier Dersma, Jay Gresham, and Todd Goldstein, with Nate Caddy, the key draftee for them there. And outs, though, they lost to Massimo D'Ambrosio to Hawthorn, and obviously McDonald, Tip and Woody retired. Andrew Phillips retired as well. And Browning Zerk Thatcher moves to Port, but that's where Ben Mackay will probably fill that spot. The club said in their draft they're really happy with. They wanted to go in with finding a mix of players who can play different positions, which they got there, especially with Nate Caddy, who can play as a key forward but can also go run for a bit through the midfield. I think across the board they don't look amazing, but they don't look bad. So I think Ben Mackay is going to help in that key defensive spot. I really liked the season last year of Kyle Langford. I was really, really big on him, and he was kicking bags of goals. And I don't know why it took him so long just to play him as that mainstay forward. I thought they chopped and changed him a bit until they decided, he's a key forward. I think that's where he'll need to stay, and I believe that's where he's been training pre-season. 2024 prediction, I said they'll finish 10th. Now, I don't think they'll make the 8. Going over their list, I just don't think I can't give them a reason to make it. Look out for, I said, now this person, 2022 draft, I believe, maybe 23, and then did his ACL, I believe, in the preseason, and believe he was pick 5 in that draft, and he came in, played 1 or 2 games in the VFL, then went straight into the AFL side. I believe he played 2 games for that, with a 23 disposals, and I really liked the way he did. He could take a good overhead mark, plays through the midfield and play forward. I said look out for Elijah Sardis. I think he's one for the future. He's young. I think he's ready to go if he can keep his body right. And although I said they don't look amazing, I struggled to find a need to lift, and I feel like this is a bit of a cop-out, but I just had to go needs to lift Jake Stringer. Because Jake Stringer, we've seen him at his best. When he's at his best, he's amazing and unstoppable. And he's probably one of the better players to watch in the competition. He's probably their most important player when he's on. But his best and his worst are so far apart and so gradually different that it hurts. It hurts him and it hurts the team when they need that live wire. So got him finishing 10th. Look out for Elijah Sardis, and Jake Stringer, I believe, needs to lift. Will, any thoughts?
That's definitely, I was going to say, look out for him. I think, although it is a young side, they show a little bit of comparison to St Kilda, which I'm sure in your episodes to come you'll touch on them. I think I think you're pretty right with them finishing 10th, but I wouldn't be too surprised if they try to make a run for the 8 very late on in the season. I think they've just got a group that can really fire, and I think the best thing that they did was get rid of Zerk Thatcher, in my opinion.
Yeah, and now we do 2 a week. Normally it'll be one me and one my co-host, but I'll do 2. So next one we got is Freo. Now, they were the disappointing factor of 2023 after the ring around flag mantle went around 2022. 2023, they finished 14th. Their best and fairest was a player who people that listen to the podcast know I love to talk about. I just love the way he plays, was Caleb Sarong. Some of the ins that they brought in Oscar McDonald in the delisted free agent, which I wasn't even really aware of until I researched this, that Oscar McDonald had been picked up. Jeremy Sharp from Gold Coast for the pre-season. And then Cooper Simpson, Ollie Murphy, Jack Dillon, and Odin Jones were picked up for the draft. Now, Lockie Schultz, I believe, will hurt them a bit in the forward line. He goes to Collingwood. Liam Henry, he was starting to put together some really good footy, so he'll be really good there for the Saints. They picked up Joel Hamling, free agent from Sydney, and they lost Joel Hamling to go to Sydney, and Nathan Wilson was delisted after a total of 155 games in his career, and Travis Collier also played 146 games. He was also delisted. Now, key defenders, they're okay. I really like Brennan Cox down there. Now, I've put Hayden Young as a defender, but I think he will spend more time midfield, and we'll touch on that in a second. Rucks, they're all right, but it looks like Luke Jackson's going to be playing a bit more forward. Key forwards is probably where they're lacking the most. Jai Amos is, I think, going to be a star, but he's just too young, and he's too young at the moment. He needs to probably grow into his body, but I think he's showing glimpses why he's going to be a star. Josh Tracy has the body, he's just inconsistent. Matt Tabernac just can't get on the park, and Josh Corbett is also a bit inconsistent. But 2024 prediction, I've said they'll finish 12th. I don't think they'll make it back in the A. I don't know why. I just can't see it. Now, look out for, I mentioned him earlier, but I think we saw it, I think maybe the last 6 weeks or maybe just month even of 2023 season, him spending a bit more midfield time to provide that he's got a lethal left foot, can use the ball really well. There's a bit of pace, a bit of dash. With some more midfield time, I said look out for Hayden Young to really take the competition by storm and lead that midfield. Just add a bit of difference, a bit of class in that midfield group. And I said needs to lift because when he came across in 2022, he was nearly the find of the trade period for a club, and then didn't see him at all really in 2023. I don't even think he played a game, but I said needs to lift Will Brodie if he wants to stay on a list. Thoughts on that, Will?
I think I would say 12 is probably a bit generous for Freo. I feel like they just haven't brought in a side. They haven't brought in anyone that's going to change their side drastically in 2024. I think Luke Ryan, I'm really excited to see what he's going to do down back. Having a massive season last season, everything, he was ticking all the boxes. Hayden Young is definitely going to be massive. My big, and this is probably just me being hopeful, but if Nat Fyfe can stay healthy and stay fit, I'm really excited to see what he can bring down forward. But yes, he's aging and he's 32, but mate, you can put him down forward and he can kick a couple snags a game and really set the tone down in the forward line. And you never know, maybe they might make a late push, finish 10th maybe, but I feel like it's too young of a side for them to crack in the finals.
Yeah, well said, well said. What's next for you coming in, obviously, at the end of cricket season and leading up to the AFL season? What have we got planned? Gather round, I'm assuming you'll be going there again. What's next for Will Taylor?
We are doing so much planning come footy season. Meetings about this year. Trying to cement the Melbourne Div 12 resis. The announcement will come out soon. We're just getting everything sorted out, and I think everyone is really toey for football season, and we're really looking forward to what we can do this coming footy season. Cricket season, we're wrapping things up. I think we'll make finals hopefully, so a bit of finals cricket content to come, but definitely looking to win the flag there. But I think if you ask all of us, I think 9 out of 10 of us would say we're really stuck into footy season and we're keen to launch into that.
Yeah, 100%. Now, obviously, will you be making the appearance to Gather Round? And how was experiencing Gather Round the first time, obviously, it being a thing? And hopefully it continues. Obviously, it's going to continue for 2 years in a row. I hope it's a continuous thing.
I think Adelaide's the perfect spot for it. Even going out to Mount Barker for the game, like that was a beautiful deck they played on last season. I'm sure I think we're going over to Gather Round. I'm pretty sure Checkers bought his tickets as soon as they came out. We're looking forward to the opportunity to make some more content over there. Potentially play a game of footy in Adelaide. It's all up in the air at the moment, but looking forward to getting back across and really getting into the Gather Round spirit.
Yep. Well, again, thanks, Will, for making your second appearance on the show, and good luck with all your futures. And hopefully you do make finals and take some more wickets. You're bowling good spells, but you're just not taking some wickets, are you?
Tricky, mate. This season has been one of the biggest seasons I've had economic-wise. I think it's the lowest my economy rate's ever been, and I just can't seem to buy a wicket. I had first ball of the innings last week. I opened the bowling and Jared dropped one at first slip, and I could have picked him up and shaken him silly. It was the most frustrating thing, but that's cricket, and hopefully come finals time I can snag a few wickets late in the season.
Well, again, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on, mate. And thanks, guys, for listening. As always, you can stream this on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And to find Will, find him at all his socials, Will Taylor, TikTok, Instagram, and Marmalade, also TikTok, Instagram, everywhere you can find your stuff. Cheers for coming on again, Will, and see you guys again next week.